guys, so another haunted house horror review for you. This is probably the segment I'm most excited about, so I have no problem watching a haunted house horror movie every single night and reviewing it, so I may have more in this segment than in my last segment, so that's something to look forward to. So today I'm talking about The Innkeepers, and this is something of a hidden gem, I would say, on Netflix. It's something I found on there as I was picking things for this segment. I like to pick from Netflix as much as I can because it's easily accessible for you guys and it's just easier for me. I don't have to like go download it or watch it online somewhere. So I watched Innkeepers online. And it's something that I haven't heard of before. It came out 2 years ago in 2011 and it's directed by Ty West, who is a younger director. He was also the writer and editor for this film as well, so he did it all. So this movie is basically about an inn that is going to be closing and the owner is away on vacation during its last weekend, so it leaves 2 of his employees left there to finish out the weekend before it closes. And they have a few guests here and there that aren't really relevant. But so it's a guy and a girl, and I loved their characters. That's one thing I really loved about this movie. The main characters, the two, the guy and the girl that worked the front desk, they were awesome. They were so believable and really, really well acted. I loved them so much, particularly the blonde girl Claire. Her name is Sarah Paxton in real life. I hadn't seen any of her work before and I really liked her acting. She was really good and totally believable. It looks like it was set in like Oregon or Washington, but some sort of small town, and they're running this inn. The inn is said to be haunted by a woman who on her wedding night, her husband, or on her wedding day, her, I shouldn't say husband, her fiance left her at the altar, and so she went to the inn and hung herself, and I think that was back in the 20th, 19th century? I'm not sure. So they're saying that she roams the inn and haunts it. So the 2 characters that work the front desk, they are determined to get some sort of footage or sound bites or something proving that the inn is haunted before it closes, because the guy runs like this supernatural website blog thing, and he just wants proof that it's actually haunted. So this does actually have a slow beginning, but it keeps you interested. I thought the beginning was one of my favorite parts. It builds up the characters, and because it's so well acted, it just felt so realistic throughout the beginning, and I was like, this is really good. Why hadn't I seen this before? Why isn't it more popular? So I really liked the beginning, even though it was slow. Like it builds up, but you don't really see or hear anything or anything like that. They did have my least favorite thing in the world in the beginning, just pre-warning. You know when someone's like, oh, come here, I have to show you this. Look really hard on the screen. And they make you stare at it for like 30 seconds and all of a sudden like something pops out. I hate those things. I hate them so much. And I knew that's what it was as soon as I saw him like, come here, you gotta look at this. I knew he was gonna do that to her. I didn't watch that part. Like, they scare me even third person, like external, watching somebody else. No, I can't handle it. So yeah, they had that. But anyway, the camera work was really good in this film. It was really professional, really well done, and I really liked that. Basically, this movie is, the fear that you get from this movie is the fear of the unknown. It's all suspense. You get a few visuals here and there, but they're not really realistic. You do actually see Madeline, who's the woman that hung herself and who supposedly haunts it. You see her, but her image doesn't make sense to me. She hung herself. Why the hell does she have blood coming out of her mouth? Like, I don't think that's what happens when you hang. They just did that to try to make it more scary for you. The first image that you see ends up being a dream, so that's not really real. But then, so that was, let me collect my thoughts. When you first see Madeline, Claire actually dreams her, and when I found out it was a dream, I'm like, okay, that's good, because that doesn't make any sense to me. Why would she look like that if she hung? Like, her ghost would not have like bloody mouth. I don't know. And then, so I was relieved. I was like, okay, but then you see her later on and it's the same thing that's in her dream, so I was kind of disappointed by that imagery. I will say some of, most of the imagery was really cool though. Like, I'll admit that her ghost was scary, but I was still really confused why she looked that way. There is a man that commits suicide in the inn, and he is kind of like roaming around naked. He slits his wrists, and I thought that was really cool. I wasn't expecting it. It was really intense. Although I predicted that he was going to kill himself as he came into the movie, like as his character was introduced. I knew that's what was going to happen. And I think he might have been her fiance, Madeline's fiance, because he went to the honeymoon suite. They didn't really play on that or make it obvious. I was just kind of guessing that maybe that was his soon-to-be wife that he left. He got cold feet because he was a very elderly man, so, and he went to the honeymoon suite. But then he said he was there, so maybe it wasn't him or wasn't her fiance. I don't know. I was just kind of guessing. So I do wish it had a more unexpected ending. It just kind of was abrupt and it just stopped. So I wish it was more clear about the ending as well. I was left with a few questions. So I'm going to get into those questions, which ends up being a spoiler for the end of the movie. So if you don't want to know what happened, this is where I go into the spoiler. So what actually happens is Claire ends up going to the basement because she's looking for this psychic lady. She wasn't really relevant. I didn't like her character. That's the one character I did not like in this movie, was the psychic. And so Claire's looking for her because they need to get out of the hotel, or the inn rather. And so she goes down in the basement to look for her, which I thought was stupid. Why would you go into a basement? And as she's like going kind of down well, she's at the top of the stairs, she turns around and she sees the old man that had killed himself. It's like his spirit, his ghost thing, but he's like drained of life. It just looks really scary. I loved that. And so she falls down the stairs, hits her head really bad, and then she starts running further into the basement. And so then she reaches these doors, which is kind of foreshadowing from before, because earlier in the movie she had chained them and locked them shut, and I was like, why would you do that? But it was actually foreshadowing for the future end of the movie. So she's kind of stuck underneath these doors, she's pushing, and then she turns and she sees the man at the doorway. And then what you see is, what do you see? So then she ends up dying, and you see her being carried away on a stretcher, and you see her friend, the other guy who runs the front desk. He's very, sad and distraught. He's like, I'm gonna go get my stuff, and I wasn't sure how she actually died. They didn't make that clear. Throughout the movie, she had asthma, and you knew that she always had her inhaler. He hands the police officer her inhaler. He's like, I found this at the bottom of the stairs. So I thought maybe she died from an asthma attack because of the fear that she had. So was it death by fear, by asthma? Was she scared to death? Did the ghost kill her? Like, I don't know. Was it all in her head? Was she crazy? I guess it leaves the viewer to interpret the ending how they want to. I would like it if she was crazy, because nobody else saw anything except for her. And the psychic warned her not to go into the basement earlier on in the film. And that was kind of like a creepy part, but nobody else saw Madeline like she did. Nobody saw the old man. So maybe it was all in her head and she was just crazy. Overall, I really recommend this movie if you're not one for a lot of scare. So if you're kind of sensitive to scary movies, this would be a good one. It does have a lot of suspense that builds up the fear. So I did actually get afraid, and I normally don't when there's not a lot of visuals. Normally I'm a visual person. I have to see something scary to scare me. But the suspense in this movie was so well done that I was actually terrified, and I hadn't seen anything. So, but then towards the end they did that so much that I was like, nothing's gonna happen here, so I just relaxed and watched it without like the fear, because I knew nothing was gonna happen, and nothing ever did. So, I mean, eventually you do see some things, but not very often, and they aren't really that brutal to get through. So if you are sensitive, this would be a good one. But definitely check it out. It's on Netflix, so anybody can really watch it if you have that. Which, by the way, if you don't have Netflix, I highly recommend it. I don't know why you wouldn't have it. It is worth the money, at least for me. But definitely watch it if you haven't yet. I'll have the trailer listed down below. And I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.